Thank you. Good morning. My name's Christopher Harrison from Teesworks. First of all, apologies that the Mayor Ben Houchin can't be here, but unfortunately, as with many of us, he's been affected by COVID. So best wishes to Ben and his wife Rachel for a speedy recovery. Also, huge thanks to ABI for helping host today's event and providing technical support to myself and no doubt other delegates. Thank you very much to Paul and his team, and no doubt they'll help me out as we go through this presentation over the next 40 minutes or so. I'm here to talk about Teesworks, which is, as the slide says, the UK's largest industrial zone, and talk about what's been happening at Teesworks since the Development Corporation was formed in 2017, and also look to the future and what our exciting plans are for the site. Teesworks, the South Tees Development Corporation, was formed in 2017 as the first mayoral development corporation outside Greater London. It's, as I've said, the largest industrial zone in the UK, and no doubt one of the largest regeneration and employment opportunities in Europe. So without further ado, we'll move on to the next slide. Hopefully most delegates on the conference will be familiar with Tees Valley and the place. Part of this is a presentation we give to potential inward investors and partners who are looking to locate their businesses and invest in Tees Valley. So it does cover some of the background and some of the key attributes that the Development Corporation site benefits from. Obviously, having a Metro Mayor in place with the devolution powers that brought with it, not least over £500 million of an investment plan to be brought forward over the next 10 years. Notwithstanding the COVID-19 challenges, we do still have a fast-growing economy worth £13 billion, and Teesport itself is home to one of the deepest port on the east coast of England through Redcar Terminal. We also have, as residents and businesses in the area will fully know and appreciate, great connectivity, whether that's down to London through the East Coast Main Line or up to Newcastle and Edinburgh, but also connectivity through our regional airports at Teesside International and Newcastle, not least Teesside, with the investments that have taken place there and the new flight connections to London City, London Heathrow, and ongoing connections also, which have been there in place for a number of years, to Amsterdam Schiphol, providing a gateway to the globe. So great connectivity, but also importantly, a very strong and loyal workforce with very low turnover rates in terms of staff movement. So population within the Tees Valley of 700,000, but over 2.5 million people located within an hour's drive. And discussions we're having with potential inward investors are very much interested in what that labour force looks like and what the opportunities are, whether that's from senior management positions through to manufacturing jobs, building on the core skills base of the region, and not least benefiting from universities, whether that's Teesside, Durham, Newcastle and Leeds. In terms of the Development Corporation site itself, it covers 4,500 acres, a very significant size, roughly 6 times the City of London. And that slide there shows the broad extent of the Development Corporation site, with South Bank Coke Ovens in the foreground, PD ports, and then moving to Redcar Terminal on the coast, with the offshore wind turbines visible just under where it says developing 4,500 acres. I think it's important at this stage just to pause and reflect on the fact that it's 5 years since the closure of SSI. That was marked this month, and since those very difficult days, a lot of hard work has been done by the Development Corporation team and partners to not only acquire the land from Tata and SSI, which ultimately successfully completed this year, but also providing a framework for future development and inward investment. So the site itself breaks down into 11 development zones, moving west to east, so South Bank, Dorman Point, Lackenby, Teesport, Brand Sands, Foundry, and so on, with Southgate to the east by the coast, which is the Special Protection Area, and Triple SI. And I'll talk more about those 11 development zones as we go through this morning's session. In terms of the vision, very much a gateway to global markets, in particular capitalising on the River Tees and the opportunities that provides. One of the key actions that the Board of the Development Corporation have committed to is the delivery of a new quay. There will be a planning application lodged for that in November to deliver over 1 kilometre of new quay at South Bank. And there are already live planning applications for over 4.5 million square feet of manufacturing, employment, logistics and office space proposed. We're also proud to be working in partnership with Net Zero and the team at BP, who are leading the UK's first, hopefully, net zero carbon capture and utilisation programme. And we have BP speaking at 12 o'clock, so I'd encourage you to join in for that session to learn more about the net zero project. In total, the vision for the site is to deliver 20,000 new jobs, so significantly more than when, unfortunately, the steelworks closed 5 years ago, when there were around 3,000 jobs lost. Overall, that will contribute around £1 billion to the economy, and importantly, we need to get that remediated site prepared so that it's oven ready to attract those inward investors. And on the right-hand side, it's very important to recognise the hard work of not only the Development Corporation, but also Redcar and Cleveland Borough Council in preparing a local plan for the area, a supplementary planning document and a master plan, all of which present a very positive framework for future investment and future development. We're also very fortunate that what's proposed at Teesworks is very closely aligned with emerging and current government policy, not only around the levelling up agenda and investment in the north, but also significant commitments to invest in infrastructure, £640 billion announced in the spring budget, but very closely aligned to the industrial strategy. And just last week, 2 key announcements from government, not only Boris Johnson's pledge that every house in the UK will be powered by offshore wind by 2030, but within that announcement, the commitment to invest over 160 million in the offshore wind sector. So we're bidding hard to secure our share of that money to invest in Teesworks. Additionally, 3 ports are proposed, and on the 7th of October, so just last week, the government announced that the first 3 ports will be in place and operational by 2021. And for those of you that have watched the progress of the Development Corporation and the combined authority, we see Freeport status being very important and central to the success of the Development Corporation site. So we'll be making a strong play to be one of the forerunners of the UK's Freeport policy when they open next year. In terms of the overall master plan, that shows one potential scenario whereby over 14.5 million square feet of built development could be brought forward. As you can see, Teesport very much in the centre of the overall 4,500 acres, with British Steel at Lackenby to the south, now controlled by Jingay, but really remediating the site and delivering that development platform for future investment. But before we can get to that master plan, there's an awful lot of hard work that's required to be done, not just in terms of producing paperwork and securing necessary consents and planning permissions, but also in terms of physical site preparation. So to that end, there are over 16 different work streams in train around site preparation, regeneration, remediation, demolition, and so on, some of which we'll talk about. I'm very conscious that that's a very busy slide, but it's very, very much what we're doing at the moment with the wider Development Corporation team. So over £300 million of investment identified in that slide alone. And I'll, as we go through the presentation, just break that down into the various development zones. South Bank is one of our #1 priorities for delivery at Teesworks. The reason for that is such that there's a quay available. So this is the site where we're proposing the kilometre of new quay with, as it says there, construction due to commence in August next year, and consent's about to be lodged for that. We've already commenced with building demolition programmes. Various derelict, redundant buildings have been removed from the site, and that work started in July this year. The heavy oil tank farm demolition started on that last month, and there were various press announcements of that, which will be complete by the end of the year. And on the metals recovery site, we've been working since spring this year to create a flat development plateau to attract inward investment. And last but not least, we'll be working to demolish the South Bank gas holder starting next year. So overall, there are 620 acres of land with the potential to deliver a quay to a depth of -13.6 metres. And the way we've split South Bank is to provide a hard standing adjacent to where the quay will be located of around 125 acres, whether that's for the offshore wind sector or other markets, but capable of certainly serving the offshore wind sector. And to that end, we say that Teesport is one of, if not the best located in the UK, because of its proximity to the offshore fields at Dogger Bank, where government and Equinor and SSE are committed to delivering the offshore capabilities that Boris talked about last week. So the consenting process is ongoing, and we see that being operational by January 2023. The slide now shows the land-based works that are proposed and happening. So, very much getting on with site preparation, notwithstanding COVID, which did bring some challenges in the early stages about safe working environments. But working with site company, we've now put in place safe working measures, which mean the contractors, whether it's Halls or Seymour's, both local firms, can get on and deliver site preparation work, so that when we're showing inward investors around the site, they can see that it is entirely feasible that within a 12 to 18 month time frame, they can have their new premises and factories available and operational on site. That's very important for those inward investors who have short-term requirements, as opposed to thinking, well, we need consent, we need to prepare the site and so on. A lot of the work we're doing now is about de-risking this site to make it attractive and competitive, not just in the UK marketplace, but on a global basis. And lastly, on South Bank, an artist's illustration of how the site could be brought forward over the next few years, very much complementing PD Port's #1 quay, which we'll come on to. So PD Port's central business within Tees Valley and an important contributor within the Development Corporation, one of the principal landowners within the wider Development Corporation site, holding roughly 750 acres of land. And they themselves have invested significantly in their infrastructure over the last few years, not least in #1 quay, which was subject to that £50 million investment, but also having planning permissions in place for a Northern Gateway container terminal capable of increasing the number of containers shipped up to 1 million units, building on the 500,000 or so units that are handled already from Teesport. And that works in and complements Asda and Tesco, and links into a port-centric logistics operation that PD Ports run, and also MGT Teesside, which is due to become operational later this year or early next year. Over at Dorman Point, which is to the south of South Bank, a site where a lot of site preparation and remediation works are being undertaken at the moment by Seymour Construction, Hartlepool based, so just over the river from this site, and also advanced demolitions, such that the site is prepared for inward investment. We're already fortunate to have active interest from a number of prospective end users not least an energy from waste facility to serve the requirements of the various local authorities in the region and beyond. We have planning permission now in place for a new site access and roundabout, and the works on that are commencing now, with a view to those being complete in spring 2021. So that then creates a real oven-ready site for inward investment. And that site, with those works of circa £13.5 million, is capable of delivering over 1.5 million square feet of development, whether that's manufacturing, logistics, distribution. So another key component within the Teesworks site, and one that's readily available and deliverable now. Excuse me. The Lackenby area of the site comprises over 475 acres of land. That's predominantly British Steel and Jingay, who took control earlier this year, and we're talking to them about the potential for electric arc furnace investments, and also hydro investments. You'll have picked up recently the announcements about hydrogen within Tees Valley, and we're looking at the potential for hydrogen rail infrastructure as part of the Lackenby site. So real forefront cutting edge technologies being delivered in Teesside. Moving to the foundry and net zero, this is the key location really for the BP proposals, Net Zero Teesside, and as I mentioned earlier, Colin McGill from BP will be talking, I believe, at 12 noon today. And in advance of their arrival, we're looking at advanced demolition of a range of redundant buildings and commencing site preparation works in late spring next year, such that again there are oven-ready sites available, but also dealing with the Redcar blast furnace and the coke ovens. And commencing demolition spring next year for those assets as well, to create again oven-ready development sites to attract inward investment to Teesside. So in total there are over 530 acres of land. BP, Equinor, Shell, Total and ENI potentially delivering over 5,500 jobs through their proposals. And they've recently closed the first consultation on their development consent order, with consents likely to be granted 2021, work starting on site in 2022, with the aim of capturing over 10 million tonnes of carbon dioxide per annum. That's the equivalent of 3 million homes worth of carbon dioxide each year. So that consenting process is ongoing, but will make a real meaningful difference to reducing CO2 emissions within the Tees Valley region. And very strong support there from central government, not least an £800 million commitment in the budget this year. So we're very excited to be working with the team to take that forward. At Redcar Bulk Terminal, again, we have a very strong asset there. Over 300 acres of land. It's the deepest port on the east coast of England, with a 17-metre draft. Predominantly at the moment bulk handling, and they've done a great job in keeping the business going following the closure of SSI and refocusing that business. But there are opportunities for expansion there, so we look forward to working with colleagues at RBT on that. Moving to Longacres and Steelhouse, we've already commenced site preparation works to create a new entrance at the Steelhouse roundabout. So demolition of the old security hut took place earlier this month, and the new gateway will be operational by the end of this year, with wider proposals currently looking at the future of Steelhouse, potentially repurposing Steelhouse and delivering new office accommodation at that gateway, with manufacturing and logistics space delivered to the north on the Longacres site. And that shows one of the artist's impressions of the gateway. We were hoping to be able to do tours of the Teesworks site starting this month, but unfortunately the COVID restrictions have put paid to that for the time being. we do hope to be in a position to redo or relaunch and undertake those tours in spring next year, subject to COVID restrictions at that time. But certainly when they were launched, I think they sold out within a matter of hours, or the places were taken up within a matter of hours. Additional projects that have been ongoing, the site itself, Teesworks benefits from a private wire network, which is to say it's got a private electricity network, so we're investing in that network with a joint venture partner. We're also looking at infrastructure at Bravo 10, looking at a pipeline there to improve connectivity, and undertaking various further primary assets, whether that's South Bank coke ovens or Lackenby in terms of demolition, to create further development plateaus and development sites. And also, it's important to note the importance of our heritage, long established heritage of the last 170 years or so. And it was something that the Net Zero team raised in their launch material I think it was back in February this year. We've made history in the past on Teesside. There's no reason why we can't make history again in the future through new technologies, whether it's carbon capture, utilisation and storage. But we need to remember that history, and we need to be mindful of that history. So there's an ongoing consultation on the Teesworks website where we're looking to build up that narrative of stories from the former steelworkers. And I know my time on the site, it's been a privilege to speak to some of those workers and understand how they've seen the site change, but also seeing the enthusiasm they have for the next phase in the site and seeing future development happen and inward investment, a real privilege. And the task force has been established, which is chaired by Jacob Young MP, and has a number of key veterans and so on it to look at how we capture that heritage and history of the site. I think in Paul Booth's introduction, mention was made of the Skills Academy and how do people engage to secure opportunities on site. I'd encourage you to go to www.teesworks.co.uk, where there's the ability to register for procurement and job updates. Already 775 jobs have been unlocked on site. And what we're now doing is creating a new academy to ensure that the skills of the workforce within Teesside are aligned with those of the inward investors and developers coming to site. And certainly speaking to prospective tenants, that is a very important piece of work. And whether it's net zero with potentially 5,000 jobs, but other end users I've been talking to have the potential to deliver many thousands of additional jobs as well. And they're very keen to understand the labour force and what the opportunities are for, whether it's training and providing the skills, but making sure that that workforce is aligned with the employer requirements. And yes, we are in difficult times. I make no bones about that. We just saw yesterday's news in terms of unemployment in the northeast at 6.6%, so ahead of 4.5% in the UK. But we are making a difference on site. And speaking to some of the contractors, poor Richie, who works at Halls, he's a former steel worker who now works for Hall Construction on site, doing some of the site preparation. It's made a real difference to his life, and that's just one of numerous examples of local jobs being delivered on site now. And I think it's also worth flagging that Martin Waters tomorrow, I believe, is talking about business support at 10 AM and a £35 million package there. And I think at the exhibition stand, you can also pick up more information on the potential job opportunities and how to get in touch with the team. So that concludes the presentation, and very much a whistle-stop tour of what's happening at Teesworks. Subject to the technology and Paul and the team helping, more than happy to take a number of questions.
Yeah, we do have some questions there, Chris. I'll just read a couple of them out. So the first question says, Do you have a strategy in place, not just for global, but small local investment to encourage startups in the green economy? Bear with me 1 second. To encourage startups in the green economy to keep innovation disruptive, fresh, and future-proof. Are we championing our local talent being part of this site?
Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of local talent and local opportunities, we're very much focusing through the procurement process on giving great weight to local contributions to the site, whether that's local labour force at the demolition, decontamination and site preparations phase, but also looking as we go forward as to, particularly around Steel House and the entrance there, the office and development accommodation, whether that's innovation hubs and so on, to help secure the best of the knowledge we have in this location and the talent we have, whether that's working with the universities and colleges.
Thanks, Chris. The next question, which has been asked by Julie Harrison, I think you've pretty much covered it off there, but she said that she promotes careers in science and engineering to young people. And a lot of students think that they need to move out of the area, get jobs. And she's asked, is there a program where we can talk to young people about the future opportunities on site?
Yeah, very much. And we've spoken at length about whether it's young people leaving the region, whether it's graduates who maybe come to the region to study and then leave. This is very much about retaining those people within the region, and happy to speak with her through offline on that and what we're doing and how we can link up.
Great. And another question here says, without citing the CCS project, can you demonstrate how the whole project is considering climate change issues moving forward? And are you incorporating the sustainable development goals?
Very much so. At the heart of what we're doing is sustainability. So through the planning process, for example, we have to demonstrate sustainability, whether that's economic, environmental or social, the three limbs of sustainability. So it's very much at the forefront of our thinking. And we're fortunate to be working, whether it's with Net Zero or some of the prospective offshore companies we're talking to, about how we contribute to climate change, green agendas on a much broader basis than just Teesside.
Great. I've got a couple more here. So I don't know whether this is a question or a statement. Stuart Davies has said, the blast furnace, is this going to be kept as a landmark?
I know that's an emotive issue at the moment, which is something that's under consideration. Certainly the plans in the master plan and the strategy envisages that will be coming down.
Okay. And we've also got a question here from Michael James, who's said that Ben Houchin publicly said that we also have a massive internet pipe into the Tees Valley. So what plans are in development to utilise this vital technology into the future of the area?
Sorry, Paul, was that a massive internet?
Yeah, internet pipe into the Tees Valley. So how are you going to utilise that? What plans are in place to utilise it?
Yeah, that's something we're very much looking at the moment in terms of connectivity and how we, Teesside as a whole, look to be at the forefront of technology and communications. So we're very much aware of that and looking at how we link in. And I've been in a number of meetings where we've been talking about how we embrace that technology, not just as part of this site, but across Teesside as a whole.
Great. There is another question here. Got some questions coming in, but we've got time, so that's fine. This is a long one, Chris, so bear with me while I read through it. So this is Michael James again, who said that the government's announced that organisations seeking to secure public sector work must set out how they'll deliver social value priorities. The new measure was announced in September 2020 and comes into effect on the 1st of January. The government has tremendous buying power, spending 49 billion each year on contracts for vital public services, and value to the taxpayer should lie at the heart of procurement. Social value model will assess contracts on supporting COVID-19 recovery, including help the local communities manage and recover from the impact of COVID, tackling economic inequality, including creating new businesses, jobs and skills, fighting climate change and reducing waste, driving equal opportunities, including reducing disability employment gap, tackling workforce. Let's see, there's a lot of information here. I'm trying to find the question at the end. So, will you be adding to the Social Value Act to the procurement process, taking it to the legal maximum limit? How do you intend to implement these changes into your procurement processes? And how can you open the procurement to small and micro businesses so that local businesses can gain greater confidence and take on local jobs and apprenticeships?
Yeah, very, very good question, and something that, you know, if Ben was on the call, he would be saying is very much at the forefront of our thinking in terms of how we maximise local benefits and within the region, within Tees Valley. What we do, say for example, the demolition and decontamination project, that is split into two ODU processes, one for the smaller works and then one for the larger works. And within both of those, we've expressly written in about social values and how local benefits are derived. So it may very well be on some of the larger projects that they need to be done by national businesses, but what we're very much pushing for through that procurement process is to understand how they engage with local subcontractors, local contractors and local partners to deliver the work so that the benefits are retained within the region as much as is practicable and possible. So very much at the forefront of our thinking. And that's something I've seen across the piece actually, where, and in my background, I used to work as a consultant, and it was incredibly frustrating when you saw job opportunities go to out of region consultants when the skill sets are available within the region. So, you know, we're very much looking to focus on regional businesses and regional companies as a starting point.
There's one more question. So let me have, where's it gone? Yeah, are there any plans to implement solar arrays on the site?
There are some shown in the master plan. That's something we're looking at. Part of what we're doing is looking at some of the remediation strategies for the high tip and so on, and it may very well be in the medium to long term that's done. It could also be that solar is implemented on the roofs of some of these large buildings that are being proposed. You know, that's happened on a number of warehouses, not so much in this region, but nationally. So there are those opportunities there. So it is something that we're considering.
Brilliant. And I think the last thing is that a few people have asked if the presentation will be available. Are you happy for that to be distributed, Chris?
Yes, by all means. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I can't see any more questions.
I want someone else to deal with the technology on that, but yes.
That's fine. We'll get that from you, and we'll make sure that it's passed out, or there's a way of people downloading that.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody's just asking if there will be access to recording. Yes, all the sessions today will be recorded, and we will be making them available in due course. So, Chris, I think that's it for the questions. So, thank you very much. There was a lot of information there. That was fantastic. So, everyone, if we'll end the session, please join in the networking. Go visit some exhibition stands. Teesworks do have an exhibition stand. So, any more questions, go and speak to the team there. And we'll see you later on for some of our other sessions. So, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you for those that tuned in. Much appreciated. Thank you.